caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the...
What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. Today we're going to be going over what was described to me as a horror comedy about a group of girls in the woods when things start to go awry. Today we're going to be talking about Killington.
Do you need me to send an itinerary for this weekend?
Your bachelorette is with Kelly.
Just relax. Make yourself feel comfortable.
We attain perfection through many lives.
I grew up here. I'll be your neighbor for the weekend.
Renounce those who spread demonic ideas and who merely talk of moral values but do not practice them. Death is not the end.
Now, Killington was sent to me by Matt Vita, who was one of the co-directors and one of the co-writers on the film, and also plays Travis in the film itself. It tells the story of four girls who are going out to a trip for a bachelorette party, along with an online influencer that they won a contest from. So the influencer is going to come in and party with them all weekend. However, the influencer isn't down to party, as she is very much a guru and tries to live a clean living style. She's a vegetarian. She does yoga, meditation, all of the fun stuff that you wouldn't want to do at a bachelorette party. Now, the film's actually got a pretty cool opening credit sequence that's got some music and some great imagery that actually reminded me of old school James Bond films. It was very cool and very well done. The production quality is top notch on this. The camera quality is good. Sound quality, there's no issues. Lighting is great. The acting is very well done. So from a fundamental standpoint, it's actually pretty well written as well, especially a lot of the dialogue, and we'll dive into that here in just a minute. But from a production standpoint, fundamentally, pretty sound movie. Very well executed. So as I said, for the most part, this is pretty well written. You've got this great opening credits, and then within the first 10 minutes, we do a very good job of establishing characters, who they are, what they are, with some background information. And it's all done through dialogue. The dialogue in this film is actually really well written between the characters. And the chemistry on screen is very good. There's a lot of camaraderie between the characters. Nothing seemed forced or out of place. Even the character of Callie, which is played by Sophie Sumner, that's the character that nobody really, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to like, because she is just kind of posh and she's kind of against, the whole system. And like I said, she's a vegetarian. She does meditation. She does yoga. But she's this online influencer that had this contest going. And the character of Lulu wins the contest. And she gets to come along with them on this bachelorette party. And even though that there's still good chemistry there, even though that character does seem out of place, it's done with intent. So the chemistry is still there on screen. Now, once they get to this cabin, this Airbnb in the woods, we also get to meet Travis, who's played by Matt Vita. Travis is basically the groundskeeper. He's the caretaker of the house. If there's an issue with the house, with the water, the lights, something like that, Travis will come by, fix it, take care of it. Not a big deal. He does seem to recognize one of the girls from a play that she did a few years ago. So there's a little bit of chemistry there between Travis and Allegra, one of the characters, one of the girls there. That's, potential relationship on the rise, if you will. Got a little bit of rom-com dived in there a little bit. So pretty interesting to see that dynamic play out. But I will say, eventually with this group of characters, especially with Callie, there is some of that camaraderie becomes a bit sour between the characters, and things eventually come to a head at the end of the weekend. And I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to give too much away in the way of the plot. So I will say, from a writing standpoint, again, pretty well written, especially the dialogue between the characters. They did a really good job of establishing backstories, character arcs, all through the basic dialogue, not necessarily through the actions of the characters themselves, but a lot of it was established through the actual dialogue of the characters talking back and forth to each other. I thought that was really well done. However, the film is not without its issues. I think one of the biggest issues with the film is that it was said to me that it was a horror comedy, and unfortunately, it doesn't deliver too much on the horror and it doesn't deliver too much on the comedy. The dialogue is so well written and the story is so well written that it almost feels like it's episodic, like this should be an actual series and not a movie. Um, the other problem too is that because it's neither really horror or comedy, it's actually more drama than anything else. I was very involved with the background story of some of these characters and what was going on with them. Um, the one girl, Lulu is trying to start a business and get it off the ground. Allegra is a TV personality who started life as a theater actor, and she really misses that aspect of it. You have another girl that's kind of, the one that you're there for as far as the bachelorette party. The bride is essentially marrying the guy, not for love, but more for security. So there was a lot of really interesting stories that honestly would have probably played out really well if they would have stuck with the drama aspect of this. I can see where they tried some of the comedic bits. Not all of it landed very well. And then as far as the horror aspect of the film goes, the horror, there is horror elements. The problem is it comes in very, very, very late in the film. Very late in the film. It's almost it probably would have landed better had I gone into this film completely blind. If I had just picked it off of YouTube or Tubi and was just like, let's watch this and see what it's about, and not known that it was supposed to be a horror comedy or anything like that, I probably would have been caught a little bit more off guard with the end of the film. But because it is listed as horror comedy and that's how it was presented to me, I was like, man, that's really late in the game for anything horrific to actually happen. So honestly, I would love to see like the first 75% of this film, and then I would love to see the last 25% stick with the drama and seeing how these girls can get their lives straightened out in regards to their backstories. Because along with that issue is that there's also a lot of buildup in this film. There's a lot of buildup, there's a lot of foreshadowing, there's a lot of foretelling of what could potentially happen. But the reveal and the landing is so late in the film, you're just more relieved that you finally get some sort of reveal as opposed to the reveal being what you're happy about. You're just happy that there is one, not necessarily what the reveal is. Now, I will say there is a bit of a slick twist at the very end of this film that kind of leaves you like, oh man, that bitch is going to get away with this. So it kind of does leave an opening that there could be a potential sequel in the future. And I wouldn't be against a sequel if they could focus and hone in on either one or two more things. If you're going to make it horror, make it horror. If you're going to make it a comedy, make it a comedy. If you're going to do a horror comedy, you've got to find that perfect balance between the two. Because horror comedy is actually my favorite subgenre. There's a lot of great horror comedy films out there that I absolutely love. Unfortunately, it's falling short. This one is falling short in both of those categories. However, it would play great as a drama. So don't want to criticize it too much because there was a lot of effort that went into this. And realistically, I'm really impressed with the dialogue, the writing of the story. I think they did a fantastic job establishing a lot with, like I said, the conversational pieces of this film between the characters without them actually having to do a whole lot. And I will say, in regard to the fact that they did a lot with a central location, basically everything happens at this Airbnb and in the area around the Airbnb in the woods. So they did a really good job of expanding the universe, even though they were using one central location. So in the end, they did a lot of things right with this film, and I think the writing is really good. And honestly, there's a big future for these guys if they want to try and do more of a drama as opposed to a horror comedy. So don't stop what you're doing. You've got a really good foundation laid out of potential, great things in the future. This one, despite its issues, it's not as bad as some of the people say. I read some of the reviews when I was done watching it. It's not as bad as a lot of these reviews say they are. But it does need a little help in a couple of areas, but I think they've got a really good foundation to make some really cool things happen in the future if they stuck with the same cast and crew. So go check out Killington's, currently available on Tubi. Like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll see everybody in the next one.